My buntag, my ngapon, my gabi, no matter where you are in the world. Hey, we have sound. The, today was kind of a rainy day outside, so I really didn't feel like doing a walking live stream. And data is kind of goofy, sketchy at this point still. Uh, Globe is on and off really bad. Smart, which I normally use, is okay, but I haven't tried on live stream to see whether or not they've got enough uh, data bandwidth to actually do a live stream. Uh, didn't post this one too many different places, so we'll have to see who shows up here in the next little bit. Yesterday, we did not do a live stream. We did not do anything. Uh, we were at the U.S. Consulate here in Cebu, and Chana is approved. She is now a dual U.S. Filipino citizen. We just need to wait for passports and paperwork to actually prove she's a dual U.S. Filipino citizen. We're still waiting for a Philippines passport that we finalized in Manila, and they said it's going to be about 6 to 8 weeks, even with the current situation, to get back the U.S. passport and certificate of birth abroad. We did explain to them that, we're going to be traveling back by the first part of April. And he said, if you do not have it in hand 2 weeks prior, come back and we can do something to get you passage back to Cebu, or get your authorization to take her back to the U.S. I'm not sure how that's going to work if it's not back, because the address we're sending stuff to is here in Tocha. So we're just hoping and praying that it comes back in time like it's supposed to. The next big hurdle that we're going to be dealing with, when we came here, we originally bought tickets on Philippine Airlines to go direct from LA to Cebu. And every time it got within a week of a flight, they changed it from LA to Manila to Cebu. And at that point in time, we did not want to do 14 plus day quarantine in Manila.
Your fashionista with your logo. There you go. No.
We have a co-star today.
Where's your mug?
It's in the sink. Water should be hot. Can you say hi, everybody? I think she might see herself or see a baby in the screen, so. But say, I'm a dual citizen now. Yeah, shout out if you do. I think her first thing could be, can I chew on a passport? Yeah. But we are waiting to get that. And Philippine Airlines, that they kept on changing the flights. We didn't want to quarantine in Manila. And so when it came down to the wire that we had to be out of there by the date we'd set, we wound up having to book tickets on Eva Air. And that was kind of nice, because that way, instead of booking a ticket to fly from Phoenix to LA, then having to grab bags and everything else and recheck in on PAL, we checked in Phoenix and checked out, picked up our bags in Cebu. So there's some pros and cons to doing both ways. But it did add on an extra flight, because we took Alaska Airlines from Phoenix to Seattle, and then took Eva from Seattle to Taipei, and then Eva from Taipei to Cebu, so we added in an extra flight. There were 3 instead of just 2. I don't know if you can hear her, but she's actually starting to do the babbling. But she's getting very talkative. She's doing the typical kid thing, flipping people off all the time. She's got that middle finger up all the time. But because of that whole fiasco, they offer Philippine Airlines offered us 2 options. One, to go get a refund, but we were hearing from a lot of people that it was taking an excessive amount of time. We found that there's a few people that it's been over a year and they haven't got their money back. The other option that we decided to take, assuming that sometime in the next year travel was going to open up, but who knew, were vouchers, and they actually incentivized it by giving you a 10% bonus for taking the voucher. So we took the voucher, and unbeknownst to us, we weren't going to be able to travel for an entire year that we were here. But we do have the tickets still standing. And so Cindy is going to get a hold of them this week. The vouchers that we double check, triple check, the vouchers do not have an expiration date. Because we were kind of worried because it's been over a year whether or not they might but and somebody else pointed out the check and where we should be able to see it if there is one. That's a big old yawn. Yeah. It's awful boring you. She's kind of bored with being the YouTube star. But so she's going to be contacting Philippine Airlines this week and trying to book a ticket between March 28th and April 7th. That's the Monday after the 8-week maximum that they said to expect it by. And it's before the first week of April. So we're hoping and planning and expecting to be back. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. To be back in Phoenix no later than April 7th. I didn't get a pacifier or anything for you. Oh, here's the mama.
And then let's go feed you again. Oh.
Can you say
Bye-bye.
mwah? Bye-bye.
She's looking at me.
Did you get lunch?
Yes, I'll actually eat lunch. Thank you, Papa, for watching.
Thank you. But that's the next big stumbling block is figuring out how we're getting back to Phoenix. If it's going to be on PAL and we need to book another ticket from LA to Phoenix and how much that's going to cost us. If it's going to be, we're going to have to book a ticket straight from Cebu to Phoenix. If it's going to be unaffordable to book a ticket from Cebu to Phoenix, and we're going to get stuck going through Manila. But if we're transiting through Manila at this point, and definitely hopefully by that point, I don't see that there should be that big of a deal. And because it's going to be transiting out of country, so I don't know if that no vax, no fly policy would still be true or not. And that's just going to have to be a bridge we'll cross when we come to it. The next big step is finding out what PAL is going to say and do. But at least we're clearing these hurdles with a definite goal in mind. Because the final big hurdle is whether or not we get the passport back in time. And if we're gonna have to go back to the consulate to try and do an emergency authorization, or whatever voodoo they do when things like that happen and it comes down to the wire. I do know that they have a standard policy to handle situations like that. I've never heard of anybody that's had to deal with it, so if somebody here happens to know of it, that would be appreciated. But from here on out, it's actually finalizing everything and getting everything ready to go back to the States. And it's going to be a move back to the States at this point. We're going to be moving back to at least the U.S., probably Phoenix for the next 3 to 5 years. We will be coming back to the Philippines regularly, probably sometime between January, February, March. That because of my 13A and the ACR card, I have to be in the Philippines during the months of January or February. I got to be here during the first 60 calendar days of the year. So I guess technically that might actually qualify for the first part of March, but I don't know. I definitely do not want to extend it that far, but it's like this week or next, I got to run down and do that annual check-in and see that procedure. When I was down there Sunday to get some stuff and to get some copies made, I did notice that they had a means of doing a remote, a proxy or whatever, that you could have an authorized person do it for you. And so I guess I can Air Express a passport here, the paperwork here, and have somebody like JRC do it even if I was out of country. But I don't know if I'd be wanting me to mail my passport. That's that. And trying to FedEx a passport here and then back to the States would be kind of prohibitively expensive in addition to the fees that a service like that would charge. So the most realistic thing would be just come here, especially since we do kind of plan on coming for 30 to 60 days a year anyhow. And that's kind of really all that's happened right now. But we are getting a light at the end of this tunnel. We are definitely getting a light brighter now. That we did get the appointment with the consulate and everything did get approved, and now it's just a matter of getting paperwork back. And that they did say that that if it comes down to the wire, we have got a method to deal with that even. So it looks like end of March, beginning of April, it has moved up from being lightly penciled in to at least written in heavy pen. Maybe not written in stone yet, but pretty heavy pen. Which means a lot of this stuff, the backdrop and a lot of this other stuff. Yeah, but they beat the Bills, didn't they? So that was something I really didn't want to hear. I haven't followed football terribly big for quite a while. And hey Daniel, how you doing this morning or this evening for you? Just talking about going back and getting the council report of birth abroad and making arrangements to try and get back to the U.S. The PAL is our first choice simply because we have a ticket with them that they're supposed to, we have a voucher for a ticket with them that they're supposed to honor. So we'll see if we can get them to honor it in the time frame that we've got, that we want to go back in. That the next big step, like I say, after getting the ticket dealt with, and we're actually kind of making arrangements to start with, is letting the owner here know that we're going to be heading back at the 11th month of our lease, and asking if he'd be willing to let us out of the 12th month, and what we need to do to get back our security in last month, whether or not he'll let us out of the 12th month. Unfortunately, we have the 12 post-dated checks. Yes, I did, Daniel, I did. And I fully support that. The U.S. trucking industry managed to beat that down when the powers that be decided to give it a shot in the U.S. At this point, one last time for emphasis, at this point, we don't plan on getting vaccinated in the Philippines. That since Cindy and I are both U.S. citizens, we don't have to be vaccinated to enter the U.S. And so, because of getting blind vaccines here, not knowing what you're going to get until you're in the chair ready to get it, and in some places they don't tell you until after you got the vaccine, we don't want to do that. Sinovac, Russiavac, and I guess Indiavac are all in the mix here now as well. They're nowhere near as common as Pfizer, Johnson, those others, but they are in the mix, and there are people that are getting them. And since they would not be honored in the U.S. as being fully vaccinated, we obviously don't want to get either, any of those. And somebody told me Moderna or one of the other Moderna, I asked, one of the main three wasn't an approved vaccine in the U.S. any longer anyhow. So that adds another one to the mix. It wouldn't be. Hopefully this stuff is going to fall by the wayside here before too long. Hopefully. Cindy and I are talking about trying to go to Canada. My sister is moving to Ohio, and I grew up not too terribly far from where they're at. If we do go for a visit, we'll probably go over to my hometown again. And we went to Canada, or we went to Niagara Falls last trip, but we did not go into Canada for a couple of reasons. A main one being that Cindy wasn't a U.S. citizen at that point. And so just to avoid the hassle and headache, we said, it's not that big of a deal. It was March, so there really wasn't a whole lot going on. We managed to get some really great views of the falls from the American side because there was no crowds. And in the U.S., a lot of that does. Here, the local government units are more in control than the federal in a lot of ways. Here in Cebu, everywhere except Cebu City, the no vax, no ride policy is a suggestion. It is not a requirement. Here in Cebu City, the mayor decided to go completely overboard, and it's not only no vax, no ride, it's no vax, no enter. You can't do anything without a vax. You aren't fully vaxxed, you can't enter anything. But in a huge sense, Cebu City is just hurting itself because I needed some stuff, and I went over to Mandawi and got everything I needed and spent my money in Mandawi. Uh, that we talked about going over to Talisai to get groceries and stuff versus going down to one pavilion or a lot of other stuff. Hey, how's it? How is it in Phoenix? That we're still planning. Oh, you guys may or may not have heard the news. It looks like we're going to be back between the 28th of March and April 7th. So look for us to show up on your doorstep sometime thereafter. And that particular policy is insane. Fortunately, Andy, if you're still around, have they went quite that far in Butuan Nasipid yet or not? I know you're fully back, so that it's not as big of a deal for you. But Cindy and I aren't, and it would be it would be it would actually be difficult for us to get fully vaxxed in the time that we have left. Because you'd have to go down and get the initial shot, wait 3 weeks, go down and get the second shot, and wait 2 weeks, and that takes up 5. Go down and get the shot, wait 3 weeks, go down and get the shot, wait 2 weeks. That's 6 weeks, and we're expecting our passports back in 6 to 8 weeks. So it would be kind of a moot point for us to even try and get vaccines here at this point anyhow. Like I say, in our situation, that there's really no sense in trying to get them here. When we get back to Phoenix, we'll have to make the decision on whether or not we want to get one and what it looks like. In Phoenix at that point. Right now, both of the major companies that Cindy does have job offers from, you do need to be fully vaxxed. And at this point, she doesn't have as big of a problem, but would prefer to be able to get like Johnson & Johnson, that's a one dose done. Now in Manila, a couple times, I downloaded a picture of a vax card, and when somebody asked for a vaccine card, I dug, oh man, I forgot it in condo. Well, I've got a picture of it, and they looked at it and okay, cool, come on in, and that was it. Here in Cebu, they not only look at the card, they look at your ID and they compare names. And so I guess I could go through and download it into Adobe and correct the name. At that point, it starts becoming really iffy and what yes and no. I'm not going to mess with that one. Yeah, I've been noticing that, and here we go. I didn't want to have to move I didn't want to have to move the microphone, but yeah, no, whatever. Besides, no, I'm not set it up terribly well. I guess I could move it. There we go. But it was rather appropriate. John and the John. Okay. Morning coffee with John and the John. That works. Yeah, I've heard Canada is going. A lot of parts of Canada are going off the deep end. I've also heard a lot of places in the U.S. The rules are getting struck down, and so, but I've said repeatedly that even Bill Gates at this point admits, yeah, the vaccines aren't really terribly well working. That just go ahead and get Omicron and call it good, and we're done with it. That he's moving on to other adventures now, and so there's no reason for him to keep on harping about how everybody needs to be fully vaccinated and all this good rot. Here in Cebu, it varies so horribly by area. I guess there were a couple of areas that were put into stage 4 lockdown. Most of the Philippines is in stage 3 lockdowns. There's a few small areas there are a few areas that are in stage 2 lockdown. And like I say that even like in Cebu province, the mayor of Cebu decided to get into a pissing match with Gwen and go off and do his own thing, and he legally can. And unfortunately, it looks it. And unless you can manage to pull off late March, it looks it. Because we would like to be back in Phoenix to do taxes there. We would like to be able to have John have a social security number before we do taxes. The way things are going, we emailed the FBU, the benefits office, the Social Security benefits office in Manila, and let them know what's going on. And they said, yeah, it'd probably be best if you did it in Phoenix. Just let us know an address so they can let the local office know that there's going to be a case coming in with this info. So that they'll have a heads up. So it looks like we're probably not going to get a social security number for Jana before we do taxes, which I would rather have a tax CPA do the taxes because of that. And because of social security, because of half a dozen different reasons, it would be best that we do taxes back there. Now, I thought they were getting ready to come back to the Philippines, or have these lockdowns and restrictions prevented that? We're not bailing completely. We will be back a couple months every year for the next few years. And besides, you may have to come back to the States for a little bit. But there's a real good chance we may wind up at Bacolod or Iloilo area. We're also going to look at we may literally miss each other by a day. If you leave on the 6th, you'll get here on the 7th, and we will be leaving hopefully by the 7th. So we may literally pass each other in the air somewhere over the Pacific. I'll make sure to wave at all the planes if we do. Be sure to be looking out the passenger side for the guy waving. Okay. I'll see if I can get the pilot to do the wing wave. Now, do you think, Andy, do you think you may go back to the States, or do you think you'll just go to Singapore, someplace local, and literally be right back? I know a lot of guys that they'll go back to the States for a month, once a year, just to help satisfy that particular requirement. If you go back to the States, You might want to try the 13A back there. But you still got that ongoing income requirement. And that would be the biggest stumbling block on that one. That if you go back to Kansas City, you're definitely going to have to get with us. We would definitely make a trip out to Kansas City at that point, or somewhere in between, so that you can be in a really small club of people that we've met on both continents. So far, there's only 3 people I can think of that we've met on both continents. Cindy's done one, I've done another, and we've mutually done a third. Cindy's actually done a few because she knew a few Filipinas here. When we went to the U.S., we visited them, and so technically she knows a few. Ouch, so you get another 3 years to go. Yeah, that could be a little bit of a challenge. And well, either way, that'd be kind of fun if we could do a meetup, either in Kansas City or so somewhere in between. I don't think I've been to Kansas City. I've been through there a few times in big truck and personal vehicle, but I don't think I've ever been to Kansas City to stop and be in Kansas City. So that could be kind of fun. Daniel, that I will probably be back in Cebu annually for a short time. Just because of flights and such, we will probably, in picking up things and so on and so forth, we will probably stop in Cebu. Let her and Shauna go to Cebu to visit relatives. I'll do my annual check-in, visit a couple of expats I know here, and then head back and then meet up and head to wherever we're going for the couple months we're here. We like Cebu City a lot in the fact that it's a city. It's got all the amenities of a city. It's got all the amenities of a city that you would like. We dislike Cebu City for a few personal reasons, and then on top of it, that it's a big city. It's not only a big city, but a big Asian city. So very overcrowded, very densely populated. Traffic, even at this point, can be hard to get through. It's a little expensive here in Cebu City as compared to, say, Dumaguete or Bacolod, Iloilo area. And so we're kind of looking at some place that might be a little bit in between. Because of my 13A, because of the permanent resident ACR card, I need to do my annual report sometime in January, February. And so it would probably be January, February, or February, March that will come back, or somewhere in there for 30 to 60 days at that time frame. And that's kind of a beautiful time to visit the Philippines. Not too hot, not too wet, not too anything. Like I say, it's kind of a beautiful time of year. That matter of fact, sometime next week or the following week, I need to go down and do my annual check-in. Our printer ran out of ink. I'm having a really hard time getting ink at this point. A couple of stores at Ayala and SMC side, I think may have them, but I can't get into them to find out. So I'm gonna have to see if I can call them up and see if they do have it in stock. If they do, what I can do to get it delivered. Otherwise, I gotta go through Lazada. Lazada does not have genuine HP, which I prefer to keep in the printer. The printer has chips in it and crap like the cartridges have thinking chips in them and security devices on them that some of the aftermarket cartridges don't work well or don't work right, period. And so I prefer to keep genuine HP ink in there for that reason. They're more expensive, but I can live with the expense versus the headache and hassle you could potentially run into. One thing I may do, I've seen these on Lazada. You can get empty ink cartridges that you refill. So I know I can get ink that way, but I'll have to see what my sister-in-law, or Cindy's sister-in-law, my brother-in-law's wife, is looking to buy the printer when we leave. And so I may see what she wants to do, whether or not she wants the with the way things turned out, that would have been our best option. When Cindy was working, she needed stuff printed out occasionally. She needed stuff scanned, and it just made it way simpler in our life to have a decent printer of our own. With the way things turned out, it was kind of an unnecessary expense. And we got a little bit higher end printer, figuring we were going to use it for 5-6 years. We didn't plan on not being here for 5-6 years. So, yeah, it's one of those things. In hindsight, we shouldn't have, but in foresight, yeah, it was the best decision we made. Unfortunately, hindsight and foresight are rarely in the same position. And I come from Phoenix. The February is a beautiful time of the year to be in Phoenix. It's July and August that really suck in Phoenix. July and August aren't the greatest months here either. But there again, you can come over to the Philippines to cool off. And so you've lived through a Phoenix summer. You've never lived through a summer. Yeah, that is one huge benefit to the Philippines, that you do not have. Snow shovels are something you will not find for sale here ever. If I could figure out how to throw one in a balikbayan box, I thought about throwing one in a balikbayan box and taking a broken handle, putting it out as a yard decoration sometime. I've seen people do that in Phoenix. But yeah, January, February, beautiful time of year to be here. February, like Joe said, like Andy said, it's probably the best time of the year to be here. Except last February and this February, because all of them kind of sucked because of the lockdowns. It's like scuba diving, that I really wanted to dive. I started to get into it a little bit, but then there were lockdowns on Lapu-Lapu, and so we weren't able to. And then John was born, and we weren't able to. And then we've been trying to run around and get paperwork, so we weren't able to. And then there's, so it just, now we're getting ready to leave, so I'm not going to be able to. And so in a year and a half, I made like 4 dives, and they were all within a month. Only inside of a freezer can I think of snow in Cebu. Maybe Cebu Ocean Park has a penguin exhibit, but outside of that, yeah, I'm thinking I don't see a whole lot of snow in Cebu. One thing I would be glad to get back to painting is I got a Bubba mug. It's a 1 liter mug. That's my normal coffee mug in the morning. I do a lot of coffee. Snowtown? I'm not sure of Snowtown. There's a North Pole not near us, or a North Pole that is near us. Here, here in Guadalupe. I don't think it's actually in Panawa, but here in Guadalupe, there's a North Pole, or South Pole. Yeah, South Pole. Now you got me curious. What I do is when I see comments like that I want to go look something up because I can never find them in the comments afterwards. I'll take a picture of it. I'll have to check that out. That I hadn't heard of that or seen that. That might be something neat to try and explore. Yeah, you got that Midwest snow. That can be that can be a huge challenge. It would almost have to be an indoor theme park because I don't think you can make snow fast enough. They need one serious snowmaker to keep up with the heat, humidity, and rain here. All right, now you had me. Now you had got me curious. I gotta go look at Google Maps because that's actually really close to us. That is really close to us. And there's a chance it might be open. It's part of Annual Theme Park. It's open Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, Sydney Mama Papa were horribly excited to see snow until they realized how cold it actually was. Cindy got to experience snow her first year in Phoenix. Well, not in Phoenix. Her first year living in the U.S. That we went up to the Mogollon Rim in Arizona to a friend's wedding in May 1st, I think. It was just before her 1 year anniversary there. And on top of that, it was a very late season snow. We stayed in Prescott overnight because it's a couple hour drive to Prescott or Payson, and then about an hour drive up to the Mogollon Rim where he was at for his wedding. We went up there that night, and it was freaking bitter cold, and she was complaining about how cold it was. And so we went back down to Prescott or Payson, and it was cold that night at the hotel we were at. We unquestionably had a heater going all night. And when we went back up the next morning, you saw a bunch of vehicles with snow on coming down the mountain. And so there was about 4 inches of snow that fell overnight. And so she got to see snow for the first time and was horribly excited. And I got a video of her. She's sitting there playing in it. And all of a sudden she grabs her hand and doubles over. I'm going to die. She'd never been so cold in her life. But yeah, it was kind of funny seeing her on that one. And then when her parents came in, we intentionally went up to the snow bowl in Flagstaff area so that her parents could see the snow. And it was like 4 below zero Fahrenheit at that point, and it was bitter cold for them. And that cold is getting bitter cold to begin with. Andy and Daniel, both of you had to have seen temperatures like that. And where you're from, yeah, pace in September, October, it can be a dice throw. Same thing in April and May. It can be a real bad dice throw on what the weather's going to be like. Some days it'll be beautiful, warm. Other days it will be frigid, freaking cold. I remember that movie, but it's been years since I've seen that. Cool Running. There you go. That might be kind of a fun movie to watch with Cindy. Yeah, one thing we're going to get back into is before we left, we went through a bunch of garage sales and stuff and started buying up inexpensive DVDs to bring with us. And then I screwed up, and I had a nice DVD player, CD drive DVD player for the computer, and I wound up leaving it on my desk back in Phoenix. I thought about getting one a couple times, and it just wasn't worth it to us. Morning, Michael and Heidi. How you doing today? We will actually be back in Phoenix, hopefully by April 7th. We should try and do a meetup while we're there. I could see some Filipinos getting into that. I could see a Filipino bobsled team. I thought they filmed in Lake Placid. It may have been Calgary, but I was thinking they filmed in Lake Placid. A lot of those movies have been filmed up in Lake Placid. But there again, whatever. But yeah, that's a little bit older. So yeah, it may have been filmed there. I don't know. But yeah, I could see Filipinos getting into that. But they love that type of thing to begin with. The biggest thing with them, they wind up having to weight the sled just simply because they're so freaking small. they, they'd have to do that's right. That's right. That may be part of the reason why they did it in Canada instead of Lake Pleasant or Lake Placid. I hadn't thought about that. That Cool Running was a great movie back in the day. I know Cindy and I have never watched that movie because that one would actually be way funny. A lot of the scenes that they did getting them used to the weather there. I may have to see if that's on any of the streaming services. That Cindy and I have taken to doing movies again. Now that China's a little bit older, we'll actually set her up and watch movies. And when we were in Manila, they had a TV that had a USB cable or HDMI cable. And so we just set the computer up with the HDMI cable, have a Bluetooth speaker that we set on the couch behind, on the couch right behind us. And so it kind of made a home theater situation. But yeah, it was actually kind of neat, and we enjoyed doing that. And that was the intent on having all the DVDs to come here, is so we could do stuff like that. And we actually even brought a projector and all freaking 9 yards. And so we'll probably wind up leaving the projector here. We'll probably wind up leaving the projector and a lot of the stuff here. And Mama and Papa offered the extra room to be locked up and just store. So we may use that as just long-term storage. And that's kind of our next little bit, is figuring out how to, what we need to take, want to take, and what we want to leave and need to leave, and figuring out what can be given away, sold, or donated. I believe I have a disposition for both vehicles, Rusi and Sunshine. That they're both going to be they're both going to be sold, and they're basically going to be given away. I do still plan on doing a review of both vehicles before I leave. I need to get that up and see if I can do see if I can do a poll either on a Facebook page or on a YouTube channel, and see if everybody would want to do a Facebook Messenger call or a continue with a Zoom meeting. But have a great day, Daniel. And I've been on here about an hour, and I try to keep it down to that to respect everybody's time. So I'm actually getting ready to log off as well. But just kind of wanted to give everybody an update and thumbnail of what's been going on. We did manage to get the CRBA. Yeah, Council Report, CRBA, yeah. Council Report of Birth Abroad approved, the passport approved. Now we just need to get the actual paperwork back. And they're saying 6 to 8 weeks, and the consulate said if we wanted booking tickets and it's not back by the 6 week mark, let them know. They'll find out where it's at, and if necessary, go through emergency procedures to get it back. And now it's changing mode into packing and preparing to leave. So by all rights, by April 7th, we should be back in Phoenix, if not a little bit sooner. So I will start doing some more live streams, walking live streams, and the office live streams, and I'm going to start posting a little bit more videos. I've got a bunch, not a bunch, but I've got a few ready to go that they were ready just before the typhoon and everything else threw monkey wrench in life. But from Toe Chip Compound in Cebu City, mabuhay.